Just 5 games left on the march to MSG, and still so much to be decided as we set the table for the final week of the Big East regular season right here for you on Big East Shootaround. John Fanta with you from our New York City studios. And folks, how about this in the Big East after a crazy Wednesday night of action? We head into the final Saturday of the regular season. Now, one team has locked up a seed for the Big East tournament field. That's right, nobody's locked into a seed. And I was talking to John Paquette, who knows it all about Big East basketball. He can never remember a final Saturday like this in the regular season where nobody's locked into a seed. Still so much to be determined. Let's see how we're getting there. The fastest 2 minutes in Big East hoops from this week thus far. And we start in our nation's capital. Sam Hauser, so clutch, looking like Marquette's coming out with the win in regulation. Malmore mania, Jonathan Malmore right down Broadway onto overtime and in OT. Rowdy Rousey, Marquette finds a way to win to keep their NCAA tournament hopes alive. Marcus Foster for 3, and then living in a land down under, the Aussie Epperson. Creighton beats DePaul to Queens. Things got crazy. It was a 5-point game with less than 15 seconds left. But then the triple. 2-point game now. Justin Simon says. Tie game. To overtime they went. What a spin move. Simon, impact transfer, has been tremendous. But Keelan Martin, he wasn't having it before Marvin Clark. So clutch. The Michigan State transfer coming up huge. And then Simon. Dipsy-do. St. John's pulls it off. And if the Big East tournament started right now, you'd have an 8-9 matchup between Patrick Ewing and Chris Mullen. To Providence and Xavier. Senior night for the Musketeers. Trayvon, ice cold, blew it. Was red hot last night in Cincinnati before the Lumberjacks chopping down a final tree at the Cintas Center. Xavier, what a night. They clinch a share of the regular season title, confetti and all. This is all hustle. Miles Kale. Eat some kale, folks. It'll make you healthy. Kadeem Carrington finishing it there. And then Mikal Bridges. Can you say NBA-type play? This kid is insane. Catch him at the Garden next week. So tremendous. Villanova and Seton Hall. What a game. Wildcats, though, in overtime. Jalen Brunson, the National Player of the Year candidate. So big time, and somehow Villanova wins. We caught up with them after. And I'm joined by Villanova head coach Jay Wright. Wildcats get it done in overtime over Seton Hall. Coach, what does a win like this say about your team at this stage of the year?
I don't know. I got to look at the film. It wasn't pretty, but it was a great experience for these guys, especially this time of year. Come in here, great environment, really tough defensive team, and just find a way to gut it out. You got to go through that. It's going to be great for our collective psyche going forward.
How much did Mikal Bridges impose his will on this game?
He was tough, man, right from the start. He's been playing great basketball. I think he's taken his responsibility as a captain really serious down the stretch here, and I'm really proud of him.
At this stage of the game, too, with a week before the Big East tournament, NCAA tournament right around the corner, how much do you learn about your group in a situation like this, coming off a tough loss at Creighton?
Yeah, it's a great sign of resiliency, of great attitude and mental toughness. We made enough mistakes there that you could get down on yourself, and the guys kept grinding. They stuck together. I was very proud of them.
Mikal Bridges joins me. A double-double helps the Wildcats past Seton Hall. And Mikal, what does a win like this say about this group as March is about to arrive?
We're playing together. We're playing hard on defensive end. And, yeah, man, we're defending. We couldn't make shots, but kept getting stops on the other end. And, just all of us having confidence playing off each other. If we make mistakes, the next person's going to step up. And it was a good thing we did tonight.
I look at the one play that really stands out in this game. You save the ball, keep it in bounds, hit a three. Can you take me through that sequence?
I was trying to make a play. Coaches get on me on attacking the offensive glass, and I went, kicked it out, and Amari found me, and I felt wide open, and I shot it.
To grind it out this time of year,
Coach Wright said that you needed something like this here because you get challenged in this conference, and you got the Big East tournament, the NCAA tournament ahead. So what can a win like this do for this Villanova team?
Just progress from here. We can't relax. Come back tomorrow and practice, get better, and keep working off today.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Last night just magnifies that streak for Villanova, that they haven't lost back-to-back games in a half-decade. So impressive. If they were on the ropes the way they were, Seton Hall had free throws, Jalen Brunson had free throws, both teams missing some clutch opportunities, and then it goes to overtime, and when the going gets tough, Villanova took some big punches from the Pirates. Kadeem Carrington was excellent, and Seton Hall's defense was maybe the best it's been all season. And Jalen Brunson, that's calm, cool, and collected. Those are the types of things that you don't see in a stat sheet. He's been sensational all year in that category. He's been so efficient, but he figures out a way to lead his team, even on a night where he wasn't on. Tremendous win by Villanova. As we take a look now at our fast break, and we get into the Xavier Musketeers clinching at least a share of the Big East regular season title for their first time in program history. And folks, take a look at this. Amazing stuff last night in Cincinnati. Cutting down the nets, confetti, and then maybe the best selfie ever. Does it get any better than that? Chris Mack is a social media wizard. That is sensational. Ellen DeGeneres once had a great selfie. Chris Mack just beat her. My goodness, that is an amazing selfie. Congrats to the Musketeers. And with a win on Saturday over DePaul, Xavier will be your 1 seed in the Big East tournament. What a year they have had, this senior class, so good. As we turn now to Villanova alums. Last night, that Seton Hall Nova game was so good, and it got Villanova alums turning to social media. Daniel Ochefu. Seton Hall always so hype, bruh. Hate those damn lobsters. Whoa. Well, you know what? The lobsters in the student section certainly don't make friends with any of the enemies. And then Chris Jenkins. How about that? Now that's a really nice tweet. After the Big East tournament, he cheers for everybody. Big smooth. He had everybody cheering for him in the national championship win. So very cool to see Chris tweeting that. We go to the land down under, not for Jacob Epperson, but for a former Big East tournament most outstanding player. Bryce Cotton of the Perth Wildcats winning the NBL Most Valuable Player Award. And keep making Friartown proud, Bryce. The third time for Perth in their franchise history. And Bryce Cotton, sensational to see him doing big things. Ed Cooley has spoken so highly of him. Bryce in the top 20 in all-time Big East assists. A great player all around. We turn from Bryce. We remember what he did in the Big East tournament. Well, this senior class in the Big East, we told you in the preseason how special they were. They still have more basketball to be played as we spotlight a senior class that has achieved historic success. The Big East boasts a senior class this year that has achieved success in historic amount. These 4-year stars have combined for 18 NCAA tournament berths and counting. The Big East senior class boasts some of the best bucket getters in the nation, as 3 of the top 8 active career leaders for points come from the conference. Xavier's Trayvon Blewett, Marquette's Andrew Rousey, whose range knows no limits, and Creighton's Marcus Foster, one of just 4 Blue Jays to have reached 2,000 career points.
Yeah, my time at Creighton has been the best 3 years I've ever had, just because, all the people and the coaching staff here has been wonderful, and my teammates through the time has been great to me and allowed me to, become a better player and a better person.
Earlier this season, Blewett surpassed 1,000 points in his Big East career, and in the process, passed stars like Ray Allen, Jerry McNamara, and Blewett's now on the verge of even passing Richard Hamilton.
I feel like I came in a mess. I wasn't in the best shape. physically, you know, I felt like, you know, I wasn't where I needed to be able to play in a game of college basketball. And, you know, the trainers stuck with me, strength coaches, they all, you know, were dedicated to try to get me to change. And, you know, eventually, you know, I did, and I stuck with, you know, the routines that they gave me, and, you know, it's done me well.
Blewett is joined by the great J.P. Macura. He has racked up many stats, but Macura is also known for the grit and toughness that his head coach Chris Mack played with while at Xavier. And this Xavier senior class has 100 wins and counting. And Keelan, does it get much better than that? Your final act at Hinkle, a sensational performance?
Nah, not really. It was just a blessing and an honor, a pleasure just to play in front of these fans one last time, and just getting a win like that. It was a huge win for our team.
Keelan is joined by Tyler Weidman, who has led the Big East in his senior season in field goal percentage. There's not a deeper group in terms of a senior class, and the 4 Pirates steering the ship for Seton Hall.
I want to be remembered as a tough guy, a guy that never backed down with nobody, a guy that loved to win.
It's been a great journey, a great ride. We came in with one goal and trying to change the program around, and we was able to do that. And a lot of winning, you know, a lot of great guys, you know, a lot of personalities, and I'm just happy I was able to play for Seton Hall for 4 years. I'm excited to move on and try to win the rest of the season.
Providence is guided by point guard Kyron Cartwright, who is now in the top 20 for career Big East assist leaders. There aren't enough words to sum up what this senior class has meant to the reconfigured Big East. Here's the even crazier part. You can see all these stars March 7th to the 10th inside Madison Square Garden. These guys still have a lot of great basketball left inside the Garden and in the NCAA tournament. They'll be going out with a bang, considering the history they've already achieved. It has been so special covering those seniors throughout their careers, and they're going to go out with a bang. You can catch them all at Madison Square Garden March 7th to the 10th next week, and see all the interviews from Seton Hall to Butler's Keelan Martin, as well as Creighton's Marcus Foster, Xavier as well. Those are on @BigEastMBB on Twitter, our YouTube page as well. Catch the interviews with our senior spotlight. Well, we have fan questions for you, as we do every week on Shootaround. And we got a couple. First one coming from a St. John's fan that asks us if the way that St. John's finishes could impact Shamari Pons being on the All-Big East first team. Here's my take on that. Yes, I am always in that crowd that says the best teams deserve the players who are going to get the honors. And I know St. John's been the back half of the conference standings, but Shamari Pons has single-handedly lifted this team in key moments against Villanova, against Duke. They nearly pulled it off against Xavier. Last night they beat Butler. He's been too good to deny him of an All-Big East first-team slot. If I had a first team right now, I would go with Blewett, Foster, Martin, Delgado, Pons, and Brunson. And I'm leaving guys off there that are sensational. I didn't mention Mikal Bridges on there, and there's several others. Marcus Howard from Marquette, Kyron Cartwright from Providence. I mean, there's standouts all across. J.P. Macura. I could go on and on. There's going to be some players this year that don't get all Big East honors that in other years might, because this conference is so deep with senior stars. We get a question now from a Marquette fan who asked me about Marquette and what they need to do here to make the NCAA tournament. Well, we're going to get to bracketology in a few moments, but for the Marquette fans out there, you're right on the cusp. You need that win over Creighton on Saturday. That's important. And then from there, in the Big East tournament, I think you could very well use that one more in the quarterfinals. We'll see where they're seated. That's so crucial. I think that Marquette got to get past Creighton. We'll see where the bubble is. They likely then need a Big East tournament win, and then you go from there. This is the perfect segue, though, to our next segment. We were pleased to be joined by NCAA Men's Basketball Tournament Committee Chair Bruce Rasmussen earlier today. If you ever had a question about the selection process, here's your answers. He is the NCAA Men's Basketball Tournament Committee Chair and the Creighton University Director of Athletics. Bruce Rasmussen is with us on Shootaround. And Bruce, with Selection Sunday just over a week away, how much of your field is set in terms of the actual teams right now?
None. We'll meet as a committee on Wednesday and take our initial ballot, and that will be of teams that we think are in no matter what happens. And some teams will have an automatic bid by that time, and they'll be in. They'll be the conference champions. But other teams will have an initial ballot on Wednesday, and we'll put some teams on in the field by Wednesday night.
If we take a look at the criteria that you guys are looking at this year with the addition of the Quadrant System, how is this system improved and how does it judge each team fairly?
Well, first of all, there's no change in the way the committee is selecting or seeding teams this year. We're just being a little bit more transparent in the process. People speak when they talk about the committee and the committee's decisions. A lot of times they speak in shorthand because they don't have enough time to explain the process. But we think that the Quadrant System better communicates the thoughts and the discussion of the committee than it has in the past using RPI only.
You've talked often about the human element to this. So the teams that you are discussing, likely they're in the conversation to be in the field. So how much does watching them this time of year maybe make an even more impact?
Well, first of all, if we were going to go by metrics only, we wouldn't need a committee. And the committee, each member watches a large number of games during the year. It varies depending upon the committee member. I probably watch 4 to 6 games a day, starting in November and all the way through the conference tournaments. Others may not watch that much, but observation is a real critical part of the process. If we're not going to have observation and watch teams and look at specific things while we're watching games, then there's no need for a committee. We just have a metric system. We plug them in, we get our field, we put them in the right order. So observation, I think we have to balance the two. We have to have a good balance between observation of games and what the metrics tell us.
How much of a shift, for better or worse for a team, can happen during conference tournament time?
Well, it depends on the year. It depends on the field. I use the analogy of a track race where you've got a bunch of people on the track. They're running a mile race, and you run 4 laps. And at every point in the year, the committee tries to evaluate where the teams are at that point in the race. So we're coming down the stretch, and we've got a lot of teams that are bunched up, and so depending upon what happens with others, as you're coming down the stretch running, you're going to the tape, a one game, even though the committee evaluates every team based on their entire schedule, 30 or more games, as you're coming down the stretch, one game may make a significant difference in the finish of a team. It could be that a team's fading and there are other teams that pass them. Could be that a team's charging and they pass teams. And it could be the opposite. It could be that a team's fading, but everybody else is, and you hold your position. Or you're charging and other people are, and you hold your position. So it's a race to the finish, and how you do is dictated by how a lot of other people do.
Obviously, it's a long and winding road to March, Bruce. So in this scenario here, I'll bring it up, in November, one team could be in Quadrant 1, and in December, that team could still be in the same quadrant. But by the time February rolls around, that team could have dropped significantly just by virtue of maybe its injuries, or all of a sudden they're out of the NCAA tournament picture potentially. But how do you judge their opponents? If their opponents were to beat them at a different stage of the season when they might have been at full strength, they're looked at differently in this system?
Well, first of all, it's a great question, and the metrics early, none of the metrics are accurate early. They're based on a very small picture, and so when you say a team was a top 25 team in November, that may not be a very good description of that team, because it's based on maybe what they had coming back, on a very small picture of how many games they played. So as the year goes on, the metrics are more accurate in terms of the description of a team. But you do see teams significantly change between November and March, either because of injuries or the development of players or chemistry or whatever. And so, but the committee's job is to say that every game has the same value. And we're not to be into predictions and say, boy, you got a lot better, so we're predicting that you're going to be here. We're determining a team's value based on every game they play being looked at with the same significance.
You are not allowed to be in the room for discussions about your university. Creighton, what about for other Big East teams?
I can be in the room on discussions of every Big East team except Creighton. However, the only communication I can make is to answer factual questions. So I can't give an opinion on a team or on players or on anything, but I could answer factual questions. I could say, for instance, that Phil Booth was not available for these specific games. I couldn't speak to how I think that impacted Villanova.
For those teams here in the final week of the season, up until Selection Sunday, that are sweating it out, if you're a team sitting in that position, as a committee chair, what would be your advice to that team if they could go back in the past, maybe improve their resume in some way, shape, or form?
Well, obviously, winning games is important. So, just win, baby. But if you could go back and say, what could you do differently? I'd say schedule good teams. A third of your schedule is non-conference. They're games that you choose to schedule, not games that you are forced to play. And so look at your non-conference schedule, and could you have scheduled differently? Could you have scheduled maybe better teams? How did you do on the road? How did you do away from home? How did you do against tournament caliber teams? Those are the discussions that the committee has in more detail, comparing when you get down to peeling the onion, and the difference between the 20th best team and the 60th best team really is paper thin. A lot of times it comes down to just a very few things, and the committee looks at who did you beat, and who did you play, where did you play them, how did you do, and wins away from home because the tournament is played away from home. And how did you do against tournament caliber teams? When we're looking at teams and trying to determine who should be in and who maybe didn't do enough, we're looking at how did you do against other teams that are either going to be in the tournament or being considered to be in the tournament.
Is 68 teams enough?
It depends on which side of that. If your team is in, it probably is. If your team's not, it probably is not. But I've thought that in men's basketball, more than any other sport, there is such of a compression of teams. Again, the difference between the 20th best team and the 70th best team is paper thin. So it wouldn't bother me to go to 96 teams and give a few more teams a chance, because I don't think there's a big drop-off between, the 50th best team and the 80th best team. And so it wouldn't bother me at all to see the tournament expanded.
Raz, finally, before we let you go, 5 years into the reconfigured Big East, and Creighton has achieved much success. So from an athletic director perspective, how would you sum up these first 5 years?
Well, it's an awesome league. I think it's the best basketball league in the country because it's basketball-centric. We've got schools with like missions that are tremendous schools. Their focus is that we have students who are athletes, not athletes who we're trying to force to be students. The mission of the universities are great, but the basketball is as good as there is in the country. We couldn't be more pleased.
Bruce, get some rest if you can. I don't know what the sleep schedule looks like this upcoming week. I don't know if I want to know.
No, I have not gotten much sleep, but I'm getting used to it. And I don't think we'll get a lot of sleep this week.
There we go. Bruce Rasmussen, the men's basketball tournament committee chair, with us on Shootaround. Thanks, Bruce.
Thank you.
Heading into the final Saturday of the regular season in Big East basketball, here is your updated bracketology. And two of the three bracketologists have Xavier and Villanova both on the one line. You see Creighton and Seton Hall. That's then the next consensus, is that Those two teams right around the 7-8 range. We'll see if they can move up from there, maybe get up to the 6 line. Who knows? Butler, after the loss at St. John's last night, Bulldogs could really use that win at Seton Hall on Saturday, or else they could go in the Big East tournament just needing to maybe get a win just to be fully secure. But that's a tough loss at St. John's, and then Providence. Still some work to do. The Friars host St. John's on Saturday, and quite arguably really use that win to stay in the field of 68 according to projections. With that, the upcoming weekend, folks. Unbelievable slate of games. It all gets going. Noon, Fox. Xavier at DePaul. Musketeers, with a win, clinch the Big East regular season title outright. St. John's at Providence. And then a Fox tripleheader continues at 2:30. Get ready for three-pointers. Creighton at Marquette. You get Marcus Foster and Kyrie Thomas. And on the other side, it's Rousey and Howard. Golden Eagles fighting for their big dance lives. That is such a crucial game as the Golden Eagles swept the season series over the Blue Jays last year. Then it's Georgetown and Villanova, 5 p.m. Eastern time on Fox. Rivalry renewed, followed by Butler and Seton Hall. The Pirates could be as high as the 3 seed in the Big East tournament or as low as the 7. Butler fighting in the middle of the conference as well. A crazy Saturday ahead, and we will be live with you on Saturday as well, leading you up to the final Saturday of the regular season, as there it is, folks. How about the logjam in the middle? We said in the preseason, 3 to 7 or 8 in this conference. It's razor thin separation. So get ready for the final Saturday in the Big East. It is going to be insane as we complete the march to Madison Square Garden. We will be live with you on Saturday to set the table for a huge day of hoops. Our correspondent, Matt Schumacher, will be in Chicago with coverage as Xavier visits DePaul. Musketeers, again, looking to achieve history. And then we're live for the world's most famous arena next week for the Big East tournament. It'll all start up with our postseason awards show on Wednesday. That's at 4 o'clock. We'll be with you on Fox Sports Go, the Big East Twitter, and Facebook. And I'll be back with my partner, Jay Alter. Jay, get well soon. He is gearing up for championship week. A little bit of a bug, but Mr. Alter is going to be back and in full swing, like all of you will be, for Big East Tournament Week. So shoot-around coverage all next week from the world's most famous arena. But before we let you go, take a look back with next week bringing another Big East Tournament. Let's go back to last year's Big East Championship game.
The Big East Tournament at the world's most famous arena, Madison Square Garden.
No doubt, star power will be on display tonight in Madison Square Garden, and that's what the Big East Tournament, the Big Apple, the bright lights tends to bring out in superstars.
There's so much on the line beyond just tonight for this program.
Let's go! Let's go! Go Nova! Let's go Nova!
Great for the Big East title, and we're underway. Jenkins hits his first shot. Mills lobs it. Justin back. Thomas, deep jumper. Three to shoot, runs it. Lobs it. For the ball. Josh Hart. Again, Avion Mintz. High-stepping jump stop. Top of the arc. Hart driving. Gets there. Off the glass end in. And Hart. And loaded. Josh Hart. This kid has been playing incredible basketball. Thomas, he's got to hurry. And he won't get it off in time. So that's the end of the first half. Terrific crowd on hand. A sellout here at the world's most famous arena to start the second half. Thomas, knocked away by Pascal. 11, Jenkins with 10. Villanova forces a turnover. Here comes Hart in transition. Josh Josh Hart pulls up. Search. Carroll Jr. the other way. Drives hard to the basket, all the last end in. Where's this kid been? Jr. got a hand. Double clutch up, build it in. This kid's doing a terrific job. He has 9 off the bench. Alex Jenkins pulls up, backs it in, and the foul. Inside pass, and he lays it in. 3:50 to go, 14-point lead. We're down time now for the Blue Jays. They've got to get back into this game clearly. Gets up, rejected by Bridges. With a bucket, up and in. Hart inside again. Pascal, and that will do it. And they're on their feet at the Garden. The Villanova Wildcats are Big East Tournament champions.
This is where the heart is. Players turning the stars and shiners enormous. As bright as the light you see in the garden. Best experience come from the Big East Tournament. Marcia MSG, where we born to be victorious.